Morning, and welcome to our daily word this morning. It's Tuesday morning, and as always, I'm grateful that you would join me and carve out time to be with me as we share our lives together and as we continue our conversation about Scripture, especially in the season of Advent, as we approach the incarnation, the coming of the Christ, and all that goes with that. And this week, of course, we light the Advent candle of love as a reminder of God's love for us and how we're called to love each other. And we're going to hear from Mary, the Magnificat, and God's working through her and these important scriptures that we'll hear this week. Hopefully you'll join us tomorrow night for our final Advent Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. So mark that on your calendars and plan to join us. Even if you haven't told me you're going to come, you can just show up anyway. That's perfectly fine. So today is daily word number 834 in our ongoing conversation. And I've chosen these words from Micah, the prophet Micah, chapter 4, verse 3. We're probably familiar with these words and their significance, but we hear them again in light of the season of Advent. God shall judge between many peoples and shall arbitrate between strong nations far away. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. We know that in our world, in our country, maybe even in our communities, maybe even our neighborhoods, maybe our next door neighbors, many people live in a state of fear. I've had a couple conversations this week with people who are in fear of where their next meal is going to come from. I've had conversations with people in fear this week of their health and what it means and the diagnoses that come along with that. I've had people just talk to me about just fear of life in general and how difficult it can be sometimes in relationships and all of those kinds of things. And when bad things happen, it's easy to become afraid. But the message of Advent for us in these weeks, the message of Advent is hope, peace, joy, and love. And we know that we can live securely, even in troubled, difficult times, as long as our hope rests in God. We hear these words of the prophet Micah and how this Messiah, this one who will come, will arbitrate between nations. And this ongoing call, as it has been, I think, throughout history, and it is today, this ongoing call of the war in the Middle East, the Israelis and the Palestinians and in Gaza, the ongoing call is to beat swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks, and to stop lifting up sword against nation and stop learning about war. I wonder what would happen in our world if those who organized war were outmatched by those of us who want to organize peace, and if our voice became louder. The prophet reminds us about how we're called to live. So wars rage. They always have. They unfortunately probably always will. But what would it look like for me, look like for you? What are our swords that we need to beat into plowshares? Are they words? Are they actions? Are they fear and anger and hatred? What spears in our life do we need to turn into pruning hooks? Holding on to our stuff not wanting to share with others, closing our doors tightly. What is it that we could learn about in our own lives that's not at all about war, but about hope in God? Peace that's internal, that helps us to live. Joy that just springs from fountains of life that flow in us. And then love, of course, this thing that binds us together with cords, as we sing, that can't be broken. What are the things in us that Micah would call us to escape fear, to escape anger, to escape prejudice, to escape pride, to escape jealousy, to escape words that we shouldn't say, names that we shouldn't be calling, finding common ground with all of those around us? What is it that God might be calling you and I to? It's a powerful, legitimate question that I think we're called to search hard to find the answers to. So, if God were to judge between nations, then I think too God judges us. God judges you. God judges me. And we have to look deep inside of ourselves, to find those things that we should turn into plowshares, into pruning hooks, that draw us closer to God, but then also draw us closer to each other. So that's our word for today. Hope it's a good word for you, and that we can just look deep inside of ourselves and find where it is that God's calling to us. So thanks for joining me, as always, for being with me and sharing your life with me in this distant kind of way. Know of God's love, know of my love for you. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.